Let's talk about the new role combinations in Season of Discovery Classic WoW. So, if you didn't know, they're now adding these ruins which allow shamans to tank, warlocks to tank, rogues to tank, and mages to heal. So, let's have a look at how that's going to work and some of the overall changes that are coming in Season of Discovery. So, back in the day, it was only really the druid and the paladin that could fill the tank, DPS, and healer role. Now with Season of Discovery, we can have shamans that can tank, DPS, and heal. We can have warlocks that can tank, and we have mages that can heal, and rogues that can tank. So overall, finding dungeon groups should be much better and much easier now. So we'll have to see. Depends how like broken or underpowered some of these are. But I imagine they'll all be in a decent spot. Like they'll want them to feel good. We'll start with the rogue because this is the one I'm most interested in. My first proper character was an undead rogue, and then I switched to hunter eventually. So I want to know how it's going to work because I've always enjoyed the CC side of it. Like I've always enjoyed controlling my opponent and things like that. So be interesting to see what they're actually up to. So you can attach these ruins that you find through quests or treasure chests or just random discoveries throughout Azeroth. And there's some tanky ruins that allow you to like fulfill that tanky rogue class fantasy. So first is just a flesh wound. It says you take 20% reduced physical damage while Blade Dance is active. Additionally, you have 6% reduced chance to be critically hit by melee attacks. The threat generated by all your actions is massively increased, and your feint ability is replaced with Tease, which taunts the target to attack you. So you're getting a taunt, you're being more durable, it's everything we need really. And then let's go into a bit more detail about Blade Dance. So what Blade Dance does is it's kind of like slice and dice. You build up your combo points, and then at your max combo points, you spend it, and that'll give you 10% parry for 30 seconds. So if I cash it in at one combo point, it's going to last for 14 seconds and it's only going to be 6% parry. And it's just going to scale up like that. So ideally, all the time, we want to be having this like 5 combo point, 30 second, 10% parry buff. Just like you maintain Slice and Dice, you're going to have to maintain Blade Dance if you want to be a rogue tank. And then next, it says Main Gauche. Instantly strike with your offhand weapon for normal offhand damage and increase your chance to parry by 10% for another 10 seconds. And it awards 1 combo point on a 20-second cooldown. So those are the 3 that we know. There are going to be more, but we don't have much information yet. They're not giving us much access to the data. But essentially, that's all it is. And then you can tease, instead of feint, you now tease them. So you can taunt, which is really cool. That was the rogue. What am I interested in next? Probably the warlock. So let's move on to that. So if you played Wrath of the Lich King back in the day, Metamorphosis came out in the demon tree, and it allowed you to turn into a demon hunter and just like AoE everything down like Illidan himself. So they've kind of gone that route for the Warlock Tank. So you'll be able to permanently stay in Metamorphosis. So I'll just go through some of the tanking ruins that are going to help you out as well. You've got one that says Master Channeler. Your drain life is no longer channeled. It lasts 15 seconds with a 15-second cooldown, costs 100% more mana, and it heals you for 50% more each time it deals damage. So, drain life, you're going to be like a drain tank. You've got Demonic Grace, surge with fell energy on a 20-second cooldown, increase your pets and your own dodge chance by 30%, and your chance to critically strike with all attacks by 30%. So, will you have your... In my head, the way this was going to work is you just turn into a demon and kind of AoE things down, but it sounds like you'll have a Voidwalker out helping you or a Felguard helping you. That'd be really cool. We'll have to see how it actually works. And then here we go. Let's go through the Shapeshift Metamorphosis ability. So 55% of base mana, instant cast. Transform into a demon, increasing armor by 500%, reducing the chance you will be critically hit by 6%, increasing your threat by 50%, increasing mana gained from life tap by 100%, transforming the functionality of some of your abilities and granting some new abilities. So Searing Pain is now instant, and that generates threat as well. Shadow Bolt now becomes Shadow Cleave, which is like a shadow melee attack that hits up to 3 nearby enemies, but it's on a 6-second cooldown. So that's like your AoE threat generator. Searing Pain is like your instant one-on-one generator. And then we've got Curse of Recklessness. Now also taunts your target to attack you for 3 seconds, but gains a 10-second cooldown and range is reduced to melee. Then we've got Demon Charge. Charge an enemy and stun it for 1 second. Cannot be used in combat, so you can initiate with that if you want. And then Demonic Howl. Forces all nearby enemies to focus attacks on you for 6 seconds. Like, I love this. I'm loving all the different roles you can play. Do you know what I mean? Like, the more tanks and healers, the better, in my opinion. So, what are your thoughts on this? How are you liking the Rogue and Warlock so far? And then we've got Shaman, and well, we'll do Shaman next because that's the one I'm on. So they're gonna get Shield Mastery. This is like, so when I'm talking about these ruins, you have to attach them to your gear. So you can do this out of combat, so you don't have to like run all the way to Orgrimmar just to swap your ruins around. So when you're out of combat, you can change to your tanking ruins, come out of combat, change back to your DPS ruins. It's really fun, really dynamic. So I'll just read Shield Mastery. Each time you block, you regenerate mana equal to 8% of your max mana, and you gain armor equal to 30% of your shield's armor value, stacking up to 5 times. You also gain 10% increased chance to block and 15% increased block value. I mean, this is what Shamans have wanted forever. Like, they've had a shield. It felt like they was always on the verge of being a tank, but with this, now they'll be a reliable tank. Way of Earth. While Rockbiter weapon is active on your main hand weapon, you deal 50% increased threat, gain 30% increased health, take 10% reduced damage, gain 6% reduced chance to be critically hit by melee, and Earth Shock taunts targets to attack you and has a separate cooldown from other shock spells, but has its range reduced to melee range. And then finally, we've got a completely new ability called Molten Blast. Blast up to 0 enemies in a cone in front of you for X amount of damage, scaled by attack power, scaled by a load of numbers. And it applies fire damage. This ability generates a high amount of threat. Flame Shock periodic damage has a 10% chance to reset the cooldown on Molten Blast. Fun little proc you get there. Moving on to the last one. Let me just scroll down. We've got the Mage Healer. So this is very interesting. Like, mages were just... There was so many mages back in the day. Like, let's see how much more useful they're going to be with this healing. So it sounds like it's going to be like a disciplined priest in retail. Like, you're going to do damage in order to like heal. So you'll apply a buff to your teammate and then you'll do damage, which then heals your teammate. So let's just dive into a bit more of the ruins that come with this. So regeneration heals the target for X amount of health over 3 seconds and applies a temporal beacon for 30 seconds. After casting this spell, you will suffer from Tangle Causality for 5 minutes, reducing your fire and frost spell damage done by 50% and preventing the use of ice block. So essentially, once you go heal mode, you're going to be doing reduced damage, but it's going to be healing. You're going to be doing like half damage, but the other half is going to be like healing your teammate. So it's very like Disc Priest vibes. And then a bit more about the Temporal Beacon. Records the subject's space-time position. 40% of all arcane damage done by the caster will be converted to chronomatic healing and divided among the caster's current temporal beacon targets. So you can apply multiple beacon targets and then like do damage and it'll heal everyone, which sounds really cool. You've got mass regeneration on a 6-second cooldown. Heals all targets in 15 yards of the target player over 3 seconds, and applies Temporal Beacon to each target for 15 seconds. After casting this spell, you will suffer from... Yeah, blah, 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 we've said that. Temporal Beacon. Rewind Time is your next ability that they've given us some info on. Your current target with your Temporal Beacon instantly heals all damage taken over the last 5 seconds, ineffective on targets that did not have the Temporal Beacon 5 seconds ago. Cool. I think it'll be really good. Like, the more healers, the better. The more tanks, the better. What are your thoughts on all this? Like, how are you finding the class combinations and the new roles? And then, here's a juicy one. Which combinations do you want to see in the future? So, literally, every single class now in Season of Discovery will be able to either be a tank DPS or there'll be able to be 2 out of 3 roles, except the Hunter. They can only ever be a DPS. So, for me, it makes sense to make a Hunter tanky spec, which works with your pet. So your pet can tank one. You can like do something clever with traps. So maybe you can like CC them, but the CC doesn't break easy. And maybe like a kiting focused tank. That'd be really, really cool to me. Like I love the mobility that a hunter brings. So if you could like definitely keep aggro, but kite the mob, I think that would be a really cool playstyle. But I'm looking forward to trying Paladin. The ruins look crazy. I've never played a Paladin properly, so I'm quite excited to do that. Mine are looking like Hunter sounds cool because they have like uncapped AoE in melee form, so that might be interesting for the later fun farming stuff. The Rogue I'm probably going to try first because I love the sound of that. I love Rogue Tank, really cool. Warlock Tank looks really cool. So yeah, there you go. Shaman, Warlock, basically every class. I'm just going to play everything, get over it. What are you playing? Love you all.